All right, welcome back to another video for the JNCIE-SP. Oh God, I've gone into it so many times how uncertain it is for me to take this test, whether or not it's a good idea. But it's not gonna be it's not something that's obviously completely stupid for me to do. It's a little bit stupid, but it's stupid as in kind of going and taking a extravagant, vacation might be stupid because you're better off putting that in your you're just better off saving that money. It's not a stupid decision for me in that I won't be able to pay my rent or anything like that. And not only that, if I pass this thing, it will be a big boost to my career. So I'm definitely gonna plan to keep going through it. I no longer work at a ISP. I work more on enterprise networking now. And I no longer work with Junipers, but I'm on a contract. So if I have this IE, I'll be much more marketable. Okay, so let's see here. Yep, so I'm gonna open up my drive, and I'm gonna go to Life JNCIE-SP, which is that's the appropriate name for that parent folder. This is a lot of what I've been doing. Okay, so yep, last time we looked at multi-homing. We did some reading, I believe. I think I might have, a lot of these videos are, unfortunately, I'm kind of just free form talking about things, but I really can't fault myself for doing that, just with how different things are with the coronavirus. I mean, I never would have changed jobs if not for that. I just decided that I wanted a something that was more work from home. I just thought, like, even though it's a contract and it might not necessarily be a long-term thing the way my other one was, staying at home, saving, that sort of thing, I thought was a smarter decision than exposing myself to the virus, because I want to see my family eventually too, and they're all old and young, so exposing them to the virus, this is just a better decision. So let's see here. We've got okay, so yeah, I've got some resources here. When I did the classic help apropos strategy, it turned out that there was nothing for BGP multi-homing specifically. There was something for vpls multi-homing, and vpls does use BGP signaling. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do for this video is just go through this lab. It might not be exactly what they were getting on the test, but VPLS is certainly on the test. MPLS is certainly on the test. BGP is certainly on the test. So I don't want to spend too much time just kind of going into specific details. So getting kind of a holistic practice session in for BGP, L2 VPNs, MPLS. I think that's going to be my best bet. So let's look at the topology here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 routers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So some of these routers are literally just, it looks like this is just an IP address. So I'm not going to go through the hassle of booting up a whole new router for those. So it looks like this one's got, so there's 3 routers that literally, yeah, the CEs 1, 2, CE 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, literally just have an IP address on them. One of them has 2 ports. So I'm just going to use those VCPS machines for that. Okay, so here's the, yep, and here's the topology I had from the last video I did. And I wrote out a script in that last video to delete a random line of config from a random device. And then I wrote a kind of a fail-safe mechanism too, where if that line of config did not delete, it would keep trying until it was able to delete one. And there were some strange cases where you can successfully delete a user UID, but it does nothing. So that is kind of strange to learn that. But here's the script. And I do have this posted on the video where I wrote this out. It's in the description section, and I tagged that video with Python, so this is pretty easy to find. I am just giving it out there free for anyone who wants it, including this function, which has been a lifesaver for me using Paramigo. The more public this is, the easier it is to find it myself again, because I don't know if I want to sit down for a few hours like I did when I first came up with this. All right. Yeah, without that function, it's really inconsistent pulling back from Paramigo. Sometimes you'll only get half the output. It's just not as reliable. Okay, so let's think about what is required for this lab. So we need 1, 2, 3 VPCS machines with just the basic configuration. Then we need 1, 2, 3, 4 MXs. So what do we got here? We got 5 MXs. So for the machine that has just an IP address, but that requires 2 ports, let's just use one of these existing MXs for that. And then we'll only need 2 VPCS machines for the other CE routers. Okay, so we'll have, and we won't need this Docker guest anymore. As I said, I've got that script saved. And we won't need the cloud either. Now there was an issue. Oh, right, because there was a big issue where I couldn't connect to the cloud, and I forget how I resolved that. But I think I remember it's that after I changed the etc networks file to have ETH0 be assigned an DHCP IP address, so an IP address using dynamic host client protocol or whatever it is, I have to reboot the device in order for that configuration to take hold. And reboot is something I usually don't go for right away, because these here, each of them will take 6 minutes to reboot. And they can all reboot concurrently, of course, but even so, it's quite a investment. I have a cron job set up to do it automatically for me. And there's a video where I figure that out too. My tags I've been trying to keep as useful as possible. So if you are interested in seeing that video, you can search for videos tagged with cron. Okay, so let's change the names of all of these devices. So we'll have this one be CE1, 2, and 3. Okay, and now I've got to make sure to, yep, so I double selected again by accident. I selected this here, and I selected there. So there's kind of an issue where it's easy to double select. So I gotta make sure that I single select. Okay, so click off there. And then, yep, I like making the forwarding plane lowercase and then the control plane uppercase. Okay, so now it's time to assign host names to the PEs and the P. So let's kind of arrange them first in the way they will be eventually. So this will be like that, kind of, essentially. And one will be up here. One will be down here, and then one will be over here. And then there'll be CE3 is going to be down here. Perfect. This will be more, yep, this will be more like that, and this will be more here. Okay, so let's label these. Oh, and one thing I will do, I'm sharing my second screen, so I'll make sure to have what I'm looking at up here so you can see and follow along. Okay, so PE1. Yeah, it's just getting really old with the coronavirus. It's like, and I live in Texas too, so the response to it was just completely botched. Like, we were put under, you know, stay-at-home orders, but testing wasn't ramped up. PE contract tracing wasn't ramped up. You know, wearing a mask was considered controversial, like wasn't that important. So we kind of suppressed the outbreak a little bit just because we were all meant to stay at home. But you know, the moment those orders were lifted, and they were lifted arbitrarily without any of these important public safety measures being successfully orchestrated, we just spiked so much that our governor just said, you know, this is a serious crisis. I can't ignore this anymore and pretend that I'm doing a good job. So now there's a $250 fine for not wearing a mask in I don't know if the super details about that, but you can now get fined $250 for not wearing a mask. It's still recommended that people stay at home, and it is so restaurants and stuff can still be open, but they're at like 50% capacity, something like that, which I think is dumb. But I recently read a report that said that my state of Texas does not have any tests yet. One thing that really has been upsetting me is people have been framing this in terms of you either address the public health crisis or you address the economic crisis. Those are separate issues. That really bothers me because they are not separate issues. You can't address the economic issues without addressing the public health crisis. There is no economic issue. It's imaginary. It doesn't exist. It is created by something else, and that's the thing you need to address. It's a symptom, not a root cause. So apologize for kind of having my thinking be a bit disorganized today. Kind of a lazy Sunday for me, so normally I'm not this unfocused. Oops, and it looks like I double clicked too, so that's what I get. But to be fair, this is something that is relevant to my journey adventure in taking this exam, because one, I'm going to be traveling in September, which is probably going to be a pretty dangerous time to travel still, if not even more dangerous, because states that actually have been doing a decent job will start to open up again, and it's just not gonna. So what I'm saying is this is relevant for me to talk about for this test, because I will be traveling. And then of course the economic reasons too. You know, when the economy is fine, we don't have to worry about, you know, not you know, we don't have to worry about what the economy is going to be like. You know, that's another question too. Like, if I get this extra certification and there's no you know, there's no way I can apply it, because I mean, for my industry, I work in I mean, I work in tech, clearly, so it's not about like having it be locked down is actually almost kind of nice, because then there's that question of, can we let employees work from home or not, is pretty much has an answer for any reasonable company. All right. So okay. All right, so all the host names are good to go. All of the devices are positioned about how they will be during this test. So it looks like I'm not going to be able to follow the port scheme here. And unfortunately, they don't even give you the port scheme for every device. So I'm just going to come up with my own scheme here. We'll just do clockwise on PE's 1, and we'll start with 0 on here, and then we'll go to 0 on all the other ones. Okay, and then, oh, it looks like we're going to need a connection to P and to CE1. So we'll do that same strategy. We'll go clockwise on the device. Oops, but I do need an extra interface on this CE1. Oh, but what I can do is just rename these. So, oh, then I'll delete this link. Okay, and now I'll rename the host name to just 1, and then I will change this. This is going to be CE1 instead. Okay, and now this one is CE3. Perfect. So let's cable this up. All right, now we've got 2 connections. Oops, and I might not have followed the convention, because it's going to be clockwise and then connecting to the lowest number of ports. So I want to connect from 0 to 0 here. Okay, and then 2 to 1. Perfect. Okay, so all right, we are good. So now I just need to start those VPCS machines. There we go. And now I can just type all this. I think I'm just going to type it out. I'm not going to, you know, I always say concepts, not commands, but sometimes, I mean, I think I understand L2 VPNs pretty well. And I have some real world experience with them too. So, all right, let's continue on PE1. Okay, this is all I need. I won't be using a jump server, so I don't need those keys and stuff. When I was studying for the 960, I actually made a video where I learned for the first time kind of getting this to work. I really hadn't used this very much as an authentication strategy. So that's a good video. It's probably buried by now, hard to go and check out. But I think the last video I set it up, I used SCP to just pull in the file. So that's a good one to watch. Let's just blank out all the routers first. Oops, and I will need to be changing the host names as well. So this is now CE1. Oops, so just gonna, okay. There we go. That's the kind of trade-off when you can just tab everything out. You end up becoming a much sloppier typer because you don't need to get everything exactly accurate. But there was this really good experience I had on the job where there was an issue with one of the big core routers, and it was for a kind of a company that really none of the other engineers had a lot of experience with, Extreme Networks. And what I ended up doing, because it fell upon my lap, was opening an attack case with Extreme Networks, and I got a really high level, the highest tier customer support from Extreme, because this was a really critical device and it wasn't allowing show runs, it wasn't allowing save the config, it was just frozen. It appeared to be passing traffic fine, but it was only allowing a few commands. It was really not allowing for work on it. Now it could have, it was able to be rebooted, but that was figured out through this call with this really high level tech person from Extreme Networks. And the reason I'm bringing it up is I just wanted to say that there is value and being able to type out everything perfectly nice, because this person was just, it was a thing of beauty just sitting and watching, because I was personally pretty stressed. And to just know that this tech person was so skilled and could type everything out perfect, and watching that, I was really impressed. And you know, you can get to, you know, myself, I have a CCNP, I have a JNCIE-SP, and you can see me, you know, kind of making a bunch of mistakes, but there is, I think, a good reason to be really clean and nice on the command line, especially if you're in a more visible role, or if you're providing customer support. You'll put people at ease a lot more. You'll kind of show that they're in good hands. So there is a reason to kind of take a little bit of extra effort in typing out the full command. Typing, you know, going super fast is not necessarily going to make somebody relax, but I think being accurate and being clean on the command line will kind of go a long way in certain situations. At least in my experience, it really gave the impression that I was in really good hands. And you can just tell, like, if you watch somebody on the command line, you can tell the level of expertise they're at too, because, you know, there's people who use hotkeys, there are people who don't use hotkeys, there's people who you just see it fly around. The command line, the cursor will jump from the front to the back, they'll delete whole words real instantly. So yeah, to any newbie, like one of the big pieces of advice I would have is get comfortable using hotkeys, skipping to the front, skipping to the back, deleting the whole line, that sort of thing, or just deleting one word like that, like, or another really good one is show deleting in the front of the cursor like that. So look them up. There's cheat sheets. So that's kind of the advice I have for beginners in this video. See, this is the one I get wrong all the time, because it's a left hand pinky and a right hand pointer finger, and I'm right-handed, so this one always goes first instead of this one, because it's just a lot more mobile than the other one. All right, so we've only got a few left before we can actually dive into the configuration given by the exercise. So we've got these three left. We'll start with PE2. Oh, that's the one I just did, so that's even better news. We've only got two left. Yeah, one thing that's really exciting though that I'm intending to do after this test. So there's a few things I can do, and it's definitely way too early to be planning for what I do after this test if I'm serious about taking this one, because I've just got a lot of things I need to focus on. But the most exciting thing to me about taking this test is no longer wanting to go and take it. So there's the CCIE. I qualify for that because I have the CCNP. I actually qualify for 2 different versions of the CCIE. I qualify for the routing and switching enterprise version, and I qualify for the wireless version. And the wireless version to me is very exciting because they're pinning up 5G. SpaceX is doing Starlink. So wireless, in my mind, is really the future of network engineering. So if I can get an expert level certification in that, I can be involved in a lot of really interesting projects. Another thing I might want to pick up is just the JNCIE DevOps, just because it would be really easy for me to get, because I have DevOps experience. I know the subject matter really well, and it would just look really nice. It would go a long way in marketing myself. Just kind of have a proof in the backing, even though I do have professional experience doing that. Sometimes having the certification to go along with it is nice. And I could literally probably pick that up in 2 weeks. Oops, so it looks like I changed the name to the same name it already was. So let's change it to the name that it needs to be instead of the name that it already was. All right, and that's the final device that needed configuration. So let's just go through and type all this out. So this is going to be PE1. Okay, so one thing I would like to do first is just go through every device and set up the descriptions. So PE1 to CE1 is going to be GE000. Okay. Okay, so let's do it on CE1 next. All right, after that, we'll do P. Okay, and I actually don't know which goes to which. So, okay, so it looks like 0 goes to PE2, or sorry, PE1. Okay. Then 1 hopefully goes to PE3. Nope, it looks like 2 goes to PE3. Oh, Actually, yep, 2 goes to PE3 because it's minus to the number. Okay, so that leaves me with 1 going to PE2, but I'll just double check it just in case. Yep. All right, so we've only got 2 more to go. Oh, looks like there's some noises outside. I'll put on these. Okay, so we're going to set, yep, so we gotta find 000. Oh, that's 2, so where's 0? Ah, I think it's right here. Yep. So PE2, 0 goes to PE1. Okay, this goes to P. All right, and CE1. Okay, so this is 2. All right, time for PE3. Okay, so this is 0, it goes to P. All right, and then we've got one more. I won't check this one, it's just, I think it's clear enough. Okay, so now we've got the descriptions, make our lives easier. Let's go and configure the setup as given. So we'll start on PE1. Okay, so now we've got it nice and easy to align these. The first one we're going to configure is to CE2. So in our case, that will be GE001. Okay, so first thing we got to do is set the encapsulation. So yep, we saw in my video where I converted it from an MVPN, a multicast VPN, to an EVPN. We had to do the similar thing. We needed VPLS interfaces, even though we were using EVPN. There is no special EVPN interface. It just uses VPLS interfaces. Okay, and we can see the different kinds of encapsulation that are available. So one thing you'll notice is we've got Ethernet, and then we've got other kinds, extended VLAN, that sort of thing. So I think that's like if you want double tag, something like that. I'm actually not sure what that is. But you've also got VLANs. So if I were going to have VLANs on this port, I would need VLAN tagging enabled and VLAN VPLS. But this we're going to keep as simple as possible. I'm sure during the exam it will get more complicated. But as I said, we just got to get moving quick. the more I can do every day, the better chance I have of getting through everything. Okay, so the next one we're going to be doing is to the connection to CE1, which in this case is going to be GE000. All right, so the connection to P now. Which is GE002. Okay, so here we notice there is something a bit different about this configuration. The first difference is that it's now family MPLS. It's no longer family VPLS. The second difference is that we've got multiple families configured on it. We've got family INET configured as well with an IP address on it. Now there is another difference, and that is that we don't need to change the encapsulation type. The default encapsulation will be fine. But the reason there are these differences is because we are editing a core-facing link. This is internal. This link is going to be internal to the VPLS instance. So on links that serve as an entry and exit point to the VPLS, layer 2 VPLN, VLAN, VLAN. Wow, you can see my brain is just not on the ball today. Hopefully it won't be like this during the test. But I'll probably bring some like chocolate with me or some caffeine, and then before the test I'll probably have like a piece of chocolate, and then during a break I might have something. We'll see. I mean, something as simple as chocolate or caffeine usually does perk me up pretty well. Which I could do now. I could go get some caffeinated tea to make this video because I want to get this done today. And obviously my brain is kind of trash right now. But let's just keep going. Try to do it without that. I've got plenty of time. I just want to get to the gym before it closes. It closes at 6, so I just want to do some swimming before the gym closes. So really, I've got until 4 or 5 even to work on this. So let's add that family MPLS and family INET configuration. And as I've said, I guarantee you the actual test conditions will be far from ideal. So if I can get work done and get it done well in a kind of brain fog, blurry mental state that I'm in right now, that will be really good for the test. I'll be even more prepared for the test. And granted, I am using these headphones, which kind of take away big distractions, but I really have no way to guarantee what kind of state I'll be in during the test, especially after flying and the stress of people coughing and the stress of having to wear a mask and not being able to breathe super well. It's just going to be a nightmare. And if I fail the test, unfortunately, I think I will not do a retake, just because I don't. Because and the other thing too is like, if I were still working at a ISP where we're recovered, if I had failed the test the scenario of me failing the test would cost me personally the same, whether I worked at an ISP or not. The scenario of passing a test would cost me less if I had worked at the ISP. So if I fail the test, in my mind, I will have not spent any extra than I would have spent before. So I'm technically not spending extra if I fail the test. So there's maybe perhaps a silver lining. Now, granted, if I was working at the ISP, that covered my passing of my exam fee if I passed, then yes, if I passed the first time, then I would not get that reimbursed. And if I passed the second time, I would not get that reimbursed. So a passing does actually, so there's almost kind of some good news if I fail. So it's a silver lining, and that's that if I were still working at the ISP and I chose to move on for a better opportunity, I wouldn't be spending any more of my own money if I were to fail the first time. And personally, I think it's more likely for me to pass because I have more autonomy and I don't need to worry about like coming into the office during the coronavirus, anything like that. It's a lot easier for me to structure my day and to get a practice session in every day. The lunchtime and the evening time video are, I think, much more consistent. Okay, so let's set the loopback interface. Oops, and they're going with unit 2, which isn't going to work. Oh, family INET address. Yep, they have that there. And you can add different kinds of family addresses. You can have a family ISO address. Okay, so right now we've got all 3 ports configured, I think. Yep. 0, 1, 2, and then we've got 3. So is that an extra one? Nope, they've got 4 ports configured. So yep, we're good to go. And we've got the loopback. So now we can go down to the perhaps more interesting configuration. Okay, so we've got to figure out which one this belongs to. So it's the interface to P. Okay. All right, and then we've got the interface to PE2. All right, so this is much more straightforward. And you can see, of course, we need the families that we're going to be using for network layer reachability information for our BGP neighborships, the information that will be sent over them. So we want family L2 VPN signaling information and auto discovery as well. Okay, so here we're going to need to figure this out as well, but luckily it's just the same as what is configured for MPLS. Oops, but this is the so there's no easy way to look at it. I can just look through my scroll back buffer though. Yep, and we've got 2 and 1, or 2 and 3. And then the loopback address as well, but we can make that passive. Okay, time for LDP. And we could use RSVP, but this lab chose to go with LDP. The trade-off between the two, LDP is typically more easy to implement, more things. It's kind of the difference between a car, an automatic, and a stick shift. For LDP, which is kind of the equivalent of the automatic, it's easier on the network engineer. Things just happen beyond the scenes smoothly. You enable it, it goes. But for RSVP, you get that extra granularity in the configuration. You can direct it over specific paths. You can make finer decisions with RSVP than you can with LDP. Okay, so this is going to be the same as well as what is in OSPF and MPLS. So 2 and 3. All right, so now it's time for the routing instance. Greep, let's not call it Greep, let's call it green. So we're going to delete Greep, or delete, let's see here, show pipe display set. Okay, so it didn't get created yet. So let's do a edit green. There we go. Instance type is going to be VPLS. When we made a EVPN, we set that to EVPN. Okay, so now we're going to have different interfaces in here than we had before, because this is our front door to our VPN. So let's take a look at how these interfaces correspond. So we've got 031. 031 goes to CE1. So this is going to be 000. All right, and now we've got 033. This is going to CE2, so it's this one. Okay, so now we need the good old-fashioned route distinguisher. We've, of course, got two different syntaxes we can choose for it. The 4-digit ASN with just a custom number afterwards, or an IP address with a custom number. We chose the IP address in this, so we're going to choose the IP address that's configured on the loopback interface to be a part of our route distinguisher. Okay, and route distinguishers are generally meant to be unique across all devices and across, of course, all routing instances, because they are meant to distinguish the route. Route targets, however, need to be the same. They're meant to filter out routes. Okay, so next is going to be the L2 VPN ID, which is something I'm not used to seeing. That's a new one for me. So let's kind of slow down and take a look at the help for it. Layer 2 VPN ID for this instance. Okay, let's see if we can get a run help. All right, let's do a help L2 VPN or help apropos. Yeah, L2 VPN ID. Oh, so help apropos only gives us a set command. I would like to see a help topic for that, just an explanation about what a L2 VPN ID is, because that is new to me. I mean, it looks like it's just the route target. Maybe it's necessary for multi-homing. So here's OAM. This is used to monitor the link. And here's our multi-homing commands. Okay, so we got to figure out which interface this is. So it's going to 031. So this is 000. Okay, so we got the first one done. We got plenty more to go. Unfortunately, I do need a quick break, but I will be back soon and we'll continue on with the rest of these routers. All right, so I am back. I'm feeling a lot better. I got some caffeine too. Hopefully I'll completely be able to stay on course. Unless I got some hibiscus here. All right, so let's get going with those other routers now that I'm back. So we're going to move on to PE2. All right, so we'll start with configuring the interface to CE1, which is GE002. Okay, next is GE000. Okay, and now GE001. Okay, so another thing we can do to figure out which belongs to which is we can just tell, like PE2, the ports facing the CEs are the ones that are going to be a part of the VPLS instance, but the ones facing the other PE and the P router, those are core interfaces, so they will be added to MPLS. So we don't even need to worry about translating which belongs to which, because we know it's the ones that are not facing the CE that get added here. We just know that because we understand how the technology works. So that's convenient because we can save ourselves some time spent looking that up. Okay, so I think it's this similar. So this is just so these are just neighbor statements. So they're not dependent on the interface. Perfect. Okay, so these are still going to be the core links, which we know from before is 00 and 01. Okay, so this is going to be the interface facing the front door, so out to the CE. So it's this one here. Which is GE002. All right, we're good to go. All right, time to move on to PE3. I think at this point there will be a BGP neighborship. There might not be though, because yep, so the IGP isn't entirely configured and it rides on top of that. So we won't have a neighborship yet until we finish more configuration. Oops, you can see they missed a space there. Oh, you can see they also gave it incorrect, so you can't encapsulate a logical unit. So it's like they're just using RSVP for some random reason. I'm not sure why that is there, but we can use the same strategy to figure out which one belongs to it. It's going to be 000. Okay, so this interface is going to be the one facing the CE 001. All right, so now we've just got some more simple configuration. Looks like, yep, even P is a little bit lighter than the PEs. The PEs typically have more configuration because they're the boundary between the VPLS and the CE. So you're going to have interfaces belonging to different routing instances. Okay, so they have, in addition to missing a space and adding an extra unit 0, they have other errors. So I think the wrong, yeah. So the wrong. I think this was my bad. I added the wrong interface to OSPF. Yeah, it looks like I just got overzealous and added both interfaces. But I'll just need the one. Oops, display set relative, my favorite word I left off. There we go. Okay, so hopefully this commits now. Nope, so okay, so I added this one to VPLS. As makes sense. It's meant to go into VPLS. That's not a mistake because it's the CE facing router. But since it's a VPLS interface, it's not going to have an IP address. I'm not even sure how it got these IP addresses, but yep, we can just remove them really easy. Oh, we can even delete the whole unit 0. Well, except for the description. Let's just delete it one by one. There we go. Okay, and it's not going to be family MPLS. It's going to be VPLS. Okay, so we'll need to set the encapsulation, Ethernet VPLS. And then, there we go. Okay, so let's take another look at that configuration. Oh, it looks like I still got, yeah, because it just deletes the most specific statements. So I just deleted the address off of the family INET, but not the family INET itself. Oh. Okay, 0 is actually not going to be a VPLS interface. It's going to be an MPLS interface. Okay, so that's not too hard to fix. Right. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to be adding the configuration. Okay, and now let's take a look at G001. Okay, it looks good. It's just got a, I wonder if I didn't clear off the configuration. Oh, yep, sure enough, that's what's happened. I didn't clear off the configuration. Yep, so we still got everything from before. I'm not sure what to do. Yeah, because I don't really want to retype all this out. You know what? I just will, because that'll be good practice. I could use it under my fingers one more time. Okay, so let's do the whole thing again. Oh, but I think I deleted my descriptions as well, so let's add those. All right, so now we're good to go. So we're going to be configuring the interface facing the CE now, and we know that because it's going to be vpls interface. Okay, so now we're going to be adding the core facing link to various protocols. Okay, so the core facing link is added to OSPF now. All right, so that wasn't too bad, just to check that all out again. Time for the CE devices. Okay, so CE1 is just going to be another VMX. Oops, and it looks like for some reason the configuration didn't delete on here either. I thought I did that. I don't know what happened. Yeah, you can see I clearly changed the host name. Oops, I wiped off my descriptions too, so I'll add those back on. All right, and there's a very loud noise outside. It is a plane, so I will put on these. Don't feel super good against my wet hair, but that's another reason to shave all this. I'm sure I'd look a lot better. I'd probably feel better too. There's nothing feels worse than wet hair. All right. You know what? I probably will do that before my test. I don't know. Let's see here. So, okay. So to PE1, we're going to have the .15. Okay, and then we'll have 2.11. So they're in the same subnet. That's interesting. Could be a typo. We'll find out. Okay, time for CE2. Okay, we're probably going to need a gateway on this one. I'm surprised this is the extent of the configuration they have on there, because it is missing a gateway, so I don't think it'll be pingable. All right, time for CE3. All right, and finally, device P. Okay. How is that going to work? So they're setting the encapsulation to Ethernet, but they want family iNet? Oh, yeah, I don't know how that works, but and they want it on the logical unit as well. All right, so got all the configuration. This probably will fail. Wait for it. Ah, okay. Well, that's a pleasant surprise. So let's go through and let's actually read some of the step by step. One thing I'm really curious about is what this, is reading about this. So I don't see anything written about that. I am curious about this statement. So the auto discovery only statement notifies the routing process, RPD, to expect auto discovery related NLRI messages so that information can be deciphered and used by LDP and VPLS. The auto discovery only statement must be configured on all PE routers in a VPLS. If you configure route reflection, the auto discovery only statement is also required on provider PE routers that act as the route reflector in supporting FEC 129 related updates. For interoperation scenarios in which a PE router must support both types of NLRI, FEC 128 and FEC 129, this example also includes the signaling statement. All right, so let's do the verification. So we're going to start on PE1 and do a show VPLS connections extensive. So number of local interfaces up. Yep, that matches. We've got connection history, we've got a remote ID. So we've got a multi-home, ID 1, preference 1, state up, perfect. Number of interfaces up, perfect. So I don't see any received advertisements. So, but let's just continue the checks. Show route table BGP.L2VPN.0. Oops, so it looks like we are missing a route. So you can see this is a L2 VPN, so we've got the route distinguisher prefixed on the routes. Okay, so I think one of our BGP neighborships is down. So let's take a look at show BGP summary. Nope, they're all up. That's good. Okay, well, let's do the next one. I'm kind of curious what happened to this one. Okay, but here, same thing, we're missing. We've got these no control board routes, but we've only got one of them. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. But for the most part, it looks right. Here we have that route, the kind of 1:0. Oh, so we don't have any BFD sessions. That could be a reason why things are different. I don't recall it saying to configure BFD though. So I guess on PE1, let's see here, show routing instances. Oh, in config mode. Okay, yep, we've got all that configured. So I thought you needed to configure more than just that for BFD. Like, let me do a help apropos for BFD and see if there's examples. Let's just do a help. Yeah, apropos BFD. Or how about a help topic BFD examples, anything like that? Okay, yeah, so this is, I thought you needed this statement here. Right now, they only have it under OAM. They don't have it under BGP. So I don't know what they were thinking, but they're missing a statement here if they want BFD to be enabled. So, I mean, I guess I'll just add that and see if that has these sessions come up, but I'm gonna have to add it for every device. Yeah. And then I need to set the transmit interval, I believe. Threshold. Yeah. Is that what it set up here? Let's just set this one. Okay, yeah, so I don't know what they were thinking when they did it here. Um, well, so I think we can check BFD. So show OAM. Okay, so now we get BFD sessions, but actually I think that's just because I just now configured BFD. So I'll do a rollback one. I'm gonna quit, and I bet you those sessions will go away. Oh, well, it changed. They're in admin down now instead of down, so maybe they're just leftover information or something. Yeah, there was leftover information, so now we don't have any. Ah, okay. So I think this lab is just bad. It's a bad lab. So if I wanted to get BFD working, we saw what I'd have to do. Just go and configure it in the group hierarchy under BGP for every router. All right, but let's see if this ping works, and if it doesn't, let's spend the remaining time troubleshooting that. Okay, so there's a missing argument here. Do I need a? Okay, so I need a let's do count. We'll do 5. Oops, I'm still missing an argument. Source. Now this isn't a real source. I just want to determine which argument is missing. So for some reason I have a missing argument pretty much no matter what I do. Huh, okay, well, I might just have to skip that one. Um, well, all right, let's just try copying it exactly. I might have mistyped it. Nope, it looks like I didn't mistype it. So we'll do a Google search. Yeah, I'm not sure which argument is missing. Okay, so it looks like this local ID is the one that was missing. And I can tell that because, yep, the enter key, execute this command, is now a valid option. So let's just give it a local ID of 1. Oh, so don't have that. Oh, so we got to figure out what our local ID is for this VPLS. So let's do show VPLS. Connections. Oops, it looks like we've got a remote connection that is in fact down. It's OL, so we've got no outgoing label. So I think what it is there's one just right off the top of my head. I know that we did RSVP on one of the PEs, and there's no reason for them wanting to that. I think that was a big error, so they might have done that instead of doing something else. So it might not be that hard to just look at the configuration and say they meant to have something else there. Nope, so obviously this is an incorrect configuration. We don't need this here, but having it there extra won't hurt anything. So that's definitely not what the issue is. Yeah, all the BGP neighbors are up and established, so it's really just a matter of, well, except for this one. This one is active. So let's start there and troubleshoot this. So really interesting that it's .0. You typically don't see those kinds of, so maybe, maybe that's it. I typed in the wrong address for PE3. Yep, looks like I sure did. it's going to be .5 instead of .0. Simple solutions for simple problems. Oops. The hell? Oh. What? Oh, right, right. This is the route. So I don't know what this peer is all about. Oh, I do have an extra one here. So let's check and see how many connections I'm meant to have. I'm only meant to have 3, so I've just got an extra one. So yeah, I can just remove this line. Okay, now all the connections are up. There's only 3 connections, so no problems there. Yep, no problems on this one. Let's pull up the, yep, the second one here. I mean, there's not going to be problems on this if there weren't on the other ones, but I'll just check it. So let's do that same thing, but for the show vpls connections. And let's try to figure out which connection is down. Okay, it looks like they're all down. So they're all having pretty serious problems here. This is the only one that has a state up connection. Oh, it looks like this has a state up connection as well for the multi-home. Well, this one doesn't have that, which is interesting. So let's take a look at the configuration, see if that multi-homing. Ah, so there was no multi-home configuration here. Let's see if that's by design. Yep, so they didn't have any multi-home on here, but they did have these here twice. So I'm almost wondering if they meant to put the multi-home here, but they accidentally did not. Okay, and when we talk about multi-homing, what we're talking about is this CE here. We're having a special configuration here so that this CE can have a connection both to PE1 and to PE2. Typically, they would just have a single connection. But of course, there are a lot of advantages to having a multi-home in case a link fails, more path granularity. You can have a backup link and a main link, with your main link being faster than your backup link, but if it goes down, you're still in business. So lots of good reasons to do this. Unfortunately, you know what? It might make sense that you only have multi-homing on these two because it's the only one with a multi-home CE. But it certainly doesn't make sense that the VPLS is down. So let's troubleshoot that and see if we can get it to come up. So we'll do so configuration, routing instances green. Pipe display set relative. And we'll do that on all of them and put the configuration side by side. All right. Oh, so it looks like this one has got some extra config on it. So it looks like this one doesn't have as much config as the other one. But that's just because it has a single connection. Yeah, it just has a single uplink. You can see both of these have 2 uplinks. but this just has one, so it's going to be a bit different. Both got the VRF targets, L2 VPN IDs. They've all got route distinguishers. They're going to be different from one another. And then instance type VPLS on all of them as well. And then the interfaces are added. It looks like only one interface has been added though. But that makes sense because it's going to be the link facing the CEs. So yep, this has one link to two. It has two CE facing ports. So both of those get added here. All right, so yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with this being no outgoing label. Yep, so here's the remote ID. Let's try pinging. Let's do a show route on that. Okay, so there's no issue with that. Let's do a trace route on it. So it's really interesting to me that it says that there's no outgoing label because it looks like it's pushing 16 on it, but that's when it's incoming, so. And perhaps there's a different configuration that is allowing it to be pushed on this side, but not on the other. Now, there was one router, as far as I understood, that did not have that no outgoing label error message or state. Let's try to find which one that was. It was this one. We don't see anything on PE2 talking about state OL, but we see that on PE1 and on PE3. So let's see if there's something special about PE2. Particularly relating to MPLS, because this is, or LDP, label distribution protocol. You'd think that would be where the issue lies if there were no outgoing label. So it looks like LDP just isn't even configured on here. Let's take a look at the example and see if it called for it. Yep, it did. So I just missed the LDP configuration. So let's add that. Okay, and hopefully that fixes everything. Oh, so now we've just got another one in OL, unfortunately. Oops, we got to do a pipe no more. Yep, so they're just hanging out in state OL type remote. So I can't get an outgoing label for some reason. I don't know if I need extra configuration to allow for that. Okay, but we did get an extra remote ID. But we're just not getting any outgoing labels. So let's try to determine how to add one. So we'll say Juniper no out. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so we got a few to look through. Let's start with this one. So this is LD. We want it for this one. This flag indicates that no advertisement has been received for this virtual circuit from the neighbor. There is no outgoing label available for use by this virtual circuit. If there are any issues with label switched paths going out from this router to the egress PE, then this flag is reported. To correct the OL status, make sure your LSPs are up and running and confirm that outgoing labels are available for the egress PE from this PE. Check MPLS.0 route table and RSVP or LDP session. Check advertised label blocks. So I think it needs a LSP. It never called for configuring an LSP, a label switch path. All right, so let's do that. Let's just figure it out on our own how to do that. So let's do show. So we're going to need an LSP to all of these. So let's do that. Set MPLS. Oh, protocols. MPLS. Label switch path. That's what LSP stands for. Name of the path 2.0.2.2. Okay. And then it's going to be 2. All right, I think it's really as simple as that. We're of course going to need one for the other connection as well. Now, one thing I'm curious about is I thought it would be able to automatically build LSPs. But we can just do it manually and see if that resolves the issue. All right, so we're good to go on this one. Probably even have LSP up by now if it's working. Let's not spoil the surprise. Let's just do the other one first. I mean, we could save ourselves some work if it wasn't working, but I'd rather just do them all. All right, so hopefully things are better now. We will see soon enough. Oh, we still got no outgoing label. Shoot. Well, let's do some of the steps that were recommended. So the second step that was recommended. So the first step was to make sure your LSPs are up and running and confirm that outgoing labels are available for the egress PE from this PE. So show NPLS LSP. Oh, so nope, my LSPs are not up and running. There is an issue with my LSPs, so that is why it is not working. So how the heck do I make my LSPs work? I wish they would just give this configuration. Okay, so I mean, I've got OAM configured, so I guess I'll associate it to that. Oh, never mind. So I don't know which one to associate it for, so I'll just skip that for now. I would like to do, let's see here. Yeah. Okay, so I just kind of took a shot in the dark, but unfortunately that was not the right answer. Yeah, I might need to take a break and come back to this, but I will make sure that I don't let this fall off my radar and try to get those up and try to get the VPLS instance working before I stop this. So for now, I think I'm just gonna take a break and come back. I might need to go into a third video for this topic. I think that'll be fine. But right now I'm planning to just come back to it later, take a break. All right, so welcome back. We're at the very end of the day. Kind of one of my goals that I wanted to do was to come hell or high water, get those OL problems to go away. So you know what? I think I can spend some time on that right now. Unfortunately, it is pretty late in the day, so pretty much all I wanted to do with resuming this video is just get it saved and posted. But I've got some, at least a half an hour to spend on this right now, so I'm gonna do that. So my goal was to try to figure out what this state OL means and have this go into state up instead. Yep, operational. So now I did do some Google searching, and so let's do a help apropos vpls. Okay, so yeah, and let's do examples. Now there might be extra examples. Oh, let's do help topic vpls. Do we have examples here? We don't. So let's see if there's something about the LSP, label switch path. Ah, here we go, LDP signaling. So this is FEC 128. We're using FEC 129. Let's just take a look at that configuration again. So I actually think what the problem might be is that we're going to need MPLS enabled within the VPN as well. So we can get rid of these label switch paths because that was not the problem. I thought that would be the problem, but I think I was on the right track. The problem is with MPLS and LDP. It's just that it's got to be enabled here as well, I believe. Okay, so let's give that a shot now that we've got the config cleaned up. Okay, so let's try set protocols LDP interface, and then we'll add LDP to these two interfaces. Okay, and then set protocols MPLS on those two interfaces as well. Oops, so that's not going to work, but we can just get rid of those. Okay, so let's see if this works now. Nope. So protocols LDP is not allowed either. Okay, but we know the problem is something with protocols LDP, MPLS, something with that, because it's not able to assign a label to it. So label distribution protocol, something with the LSP, that's what the issue is going to be. So what about just like a set system services VPLS? I doubt that would be it. No. Okay, so we've got instance type, we've got a route distinguisher, route target, we've got VPLS enabled. Let's take a look inside the protocols VPLS again. Oops, so we'll do a set question mark. So it could be something like this, where we're gonna need flow label receive, flow label transmit. So let's try adding that sort of thing on there. I believe we have neighbor statements. If we don't have neighbor statements, we might need to do that as well. So we don't have any neighbor statements. Let's set up some neighbor statements. So we'll give it a neighbor ID. We'll start with trying to establish a neighborship to PE2. And I believe the neighbor ID will be the loopback on LO0. Okay, we'll give that a shot. Oops, so okay, so when I did that neighbor statement, I tried to do a FEC 128. So okay, so that could be it. So we'll roll back 0. I think I'm on the right track. I'm missing a piece of configuration from the puzzle here because it's not able to assign a label, so there's some issue. Maybe I need an export policy. This could be it too, VRF table label, because if it's not getting a label, I can give it one that way possibly. So let's try that. Oops. Of course not. This is a VPLS instance, not a VRF instance. All right, that's just assigning a name. Let's go ahead and try these labeling commands. So it's going to be inside edit vpls, edit protocol vpls. Okay, so let's try these. Oh. Okay, so let's try flow label receive. So we're going to advertise capability to pop flow label in receive direction to remote PE. And then in addition to that, we'll try the other command, flow label transmit, advertise ability to push flow label in transmit. So I think this is the one we would need more because it's unable to allocate a label to it. We also might need this import labeled routes statement. Let's just take a look at this one. Okay, so this is a routing instance where a label route has to be imported. I don't think we'll need that, so let's do a commit and quit. And now let's go over to PE2 and add the oops. So BRF, oh, yeah, so we don't need this anymore. So edit routing instances, green. Okay, and now delete VRF table label. Okay. All right, we're good to go. So let's add that to the other PE routers. Okay, so it's going to be these two commands. Okay, and we can get rid of that LSP. All right, and we got one more to go on PE3 before I'll check. Okay, so hopefully this is it. So that's not it. We still got that OL. So that means that there is no outgoing label. So we're going to need to figure out how to get an outgoing label. So let's go to Google. That plane is not fun. There's a loud plane going overhead, so I will use this. Okay, so we're going to do Juniper no outgoing label.
Okay, so we gotta make sure our LSPs are up and running and confirm that outgoing labels are available for the egress PE from this PE. So let's check the MPLS 0 route table. First of all, let's do show RSVP neighbors. Okay, so we do have one neighbor, but we've only got one. So let's figure out which router this is on. So we're going to do a trace route to it. And if it's only one hop away, we know it's router P. So yep, this is going to router P. So next step, we can check advertised label blocks using show vpls connections. Okay, and then we can use show route advertising. Protocol, BGP. Okay, so we are advertising. Okay, well, I'm not sure what the problem is. I can't see the labels. Let's do a show LDP label or show LDP. Here we go. So we can see we do have a label, but we've only got one for this prefix. We're not getting a label for the VPLS instance. So we don't have LDP running inside the green instance. I think we are going to need that. So protocol LDP not allowed. Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop the video here. The lunchtime video tomorrow, I'm gonna work on this. I think I'll work on it on the after work video as well. But after those two videos, I think I'll have to put it aside. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.